LeBron gets an extra year. So he's under contract guaranteed for this year and next year. But then he has a player option for the year after. So they're guaranteed to pay him $97 million for the next 2 years, which the Laker fans in my life are like, is that a good thing? I don't even know. He still has the hammer because when his son finishes either college or the G League or wherever he goes next year and is allegedly going to come in as a lottery pick. I'm hands off on this. I'm hands off on this.
Really doing this Bronny going to the NBA thing?
Well,
we're really doing
I don't think we should, and I don't know how realistic it is.
He's not going to the league, Bill. Maybe he'll go to the G League. He's not an NBA player.
Well, he might be when
6'1".
he's 22, 23. Yeah, I think it's ambitious to think he's going to spend a year and then as a 19-year-old just be an NBA player. Anyway, we don't have to litigate that. But he's keeping his options open for whatever reason. Why would the Lakers be okay with this, Rob? So you're tied into LeBron and Anthony Davis for the next 2 years. You have Westbrook this year. You're missing all your picks until 27. I looked at the West. Golden State, Phoenix, Clippers, I think are undeniably better than the Lakers the 2023 Lakers. Denver, Dallas, Memphis, I would also have ahead of them.
Yes, clearly.
That's 6 teams now. Now we're in the Minnesota, New Orleans, Lakers tier.
I think those 2 teams are better.
So I do too. And now it's like, oh, you fucking hate the Lakers. Of course you do. It's like, no, I'm sorry. I think they're the 9th best team in the West. FanDuel has them at plus 800 to win the West. If anyone wants to make that bet, I'll book that action. If you want to bet plus 800 on the Lakers to win the West. But Rob, they're the 9th best team in the West. Why are the Lakers trying to lock this down for more years?
What's the alternative?
Yeah.
I think is the problem. And they've walked themselves into that. Like if you don't do this, I guess the alternatives would be you don't extend LeBron, and then when he becomes a free agent, you try to get him to sign for less, a la James Harden, and work something out. But I think that's not very realistic.
Or you don't extend LeBron and you get off of AD and try to bring in young stuff and start over. But like...
I'm doing a 2-year extension or I'm not doing it.
So the player option is what bothers you?
Yes.
Interesting.
I'm locked in, but not really.
Also,
I'm kind of locked in. What am I locked into?
Also, what I thought was interesting is that LeBron signed a deal on the day that made it so that they couldn't trade him at this year's trade deadline.
Right. They cannot trade him for a year.
Yeah. I was like...
Here's a team that they need as much optionality as possible, right? Like they're clearly stuck with Russ. They clearly have to take Russ into the season, then try to flip him December range. But there's like a disaster model, right? LeBron's missed 20 plus games the last 3 years. He's on pace to play the most games, minutes, whatever you want to say in the history of the league. Davis is never healthy. There's always a different reason for him not to be playing.
He wasn't very good.
And he looked like a guy who just wasn't the same guy that he was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't really love the role players at all. I think if you were grading the teams, your players 3 through 15, to me, they're in the bottom 25th percentile, right? I would say their 3 through 15 would be probably worst 8 in the league. So they have really no injury luck at all. And they're going to have to spin Westbrook just to be competitive. But there's also a scenario where they could just really suck again if one of those 2 guys gets hurt. I would have kept the optionality. To me, the possibility of being able to trade him in December, January, February is more important. But we've seen Jeannie Buss do this. Like she likes locking. She'd be like, you could see her like on her deck going, well, it'd be cool if he broke the points record here.
Yeah.
And he gave us a title already and we have to take care of him. But it's not the smart basketball move. It's just not.
Am I just a schmuck for thinking that is kind of cool? Like this is one of the greatest players in NBA history. Yeah. He wants to finish his career with your franchise, presumably. You have him on a similar timeline as AD now in terms of their contracts. I think I'm okay with that, even if we are the seventh.
So then you have to say that, and you have to say, look,
yes,
we are not trading the 27 and 29 first. We're just not. We have mortgaged enough of our future for this. We have immense respect for you. We hope you break the record here. But we've spent enough on the assets. Now you have to deliver something to us, would be my take.
Yeah, but also I think the Lakers, the reason why I don't get too concerned about these draft picks and all of that, like they'll get another freaking really great player to force their way to LA. Like it's just what constantly happens to that damn team. Like whether it becomes like...
Can I pause you on that?
Sure, go ahead.
That was not the case in the entire mid-2010s. The only reason LeBron went there was because he wanted to move to LA. He wanted his kids to go to school there, and they had this whole entertainment thing they wanted to blow out.
But then he went there and the domino fell that AD forced his way there, right?
Yep.
So it's like they just have to get fortunate once.
They wouldn't. KD didn't even take a meeting with them in 2016. Like they were ice cold. And there's no reason to think that's not going to happen again. It's not like they're the most well-run franchise.
I think players will still want to play for the Lakers.
We said this in 2015. It wasn't the case. 2014, 15, 16, 17, nobody wanted to go there. And remember, we used to say this with the Knicks too. Guess what? KD and Kyrie, they'll get them. Nobody wanted to go there.
Though. Like the Knicks have never had a track record of it happening. The Lakers had a lull. They've had a freaking 50-year track record of important players forcing their way over there from Kareem to Shaq.
I think Miami has that now. I think Miami took that championship belt.
Maybe. I don't think so, man. I really think that lull did happen where it was like,
for sure.
You'd go on Twitter and Lakers fans are mocking up every single superstar with a Lakers jersey. And it was pathetic for a 4-year run. It was really disgusting to watch on Twitter. But that's been a blip in the history of the franchise. They get guys, man, and I don't see any reason to believe that they won't in the future, even if Jeannie Buss isn't great.
Rob, I didn't watch the 10-part Lakers Hulu series yet, but I'm going to assume, since the Laker fans always say they have 17 titles because they shoehorn this 5 Minnesota titles in there, I'm going to assume the first 2 parts are about the Minneapolis Lakers.
That seems like a fair assumption for a state media product. 17
titles, 17 rings, 17 titles. So how many Minneapolis Laker parts are there? I'm just curious. Is that so part 3 they moved to LA? Because you got to get those 2 titles, 2 parts in about Minneapolis. Counting those.
I am always stunned by the pettiness between Celtics and Lakers fans, and I don't know why. I'm always surprised by it.
How do you think the OKC fans are going to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the 1979 Supersonics title? What do you think in 2029? OKC's won title in 1979 in Seattle, a team they didn't have. Get out of here with the Minneapolis thing. So Lakers, I think Russ starts the season. I think it's super awkward. This is another thing. I don't know if this has been discussed. How fucking awkward the preseason is going to be this year. We have this Brooklyn situation and this Lakers situation that are going to be off the charts weird, right? The Brooklyn thing, imagine the first day in Brooklyn, imagine the first day in Lakers, like, Russ, so kind of a strange summer, but I know you were enthused to be back in a Lakers uniform again. Like, how do you even ask him a question?
At least with the Lakers, is one guy. With the Nets, it's 3 weird things happening. It's Kyrie, it's KD, but then it's also Ben Simmons is a weird thing to throw in there. Like, this dude hasn't played in damn near 2 years, right?
I would say Ben Simmons is a weird thing to throw into anything.
Yeah.
Dinner, a cocktail party, a movie screening. When is it not going to be weird with Ben Simmons? And we're supposed to expect he's just 100% healthy. By the way, he hasn't played basketball now 16 months.
That whole thing is a mess.
Yeah,
just a mess.
It's a tough trade. You won't see a lot of Sean Marks criticism though. And granted, KD was driving the Harden trade. That's one where everybody gets blamed, right? You're blaming the franchise. You're blaming the player. That's just like a complete shit show. With the Lakers thing though, I was trying to think of moves, and it's clearly AD because now that they've locked in LeBron. If they had to make a panic move, I think it's AD. Like AD and Russ for KD and Kyrie mentioned. They're AD to the Knicks. AD to the Warriors was interesting to me because that brings Draymond and he's clutch, and it's the one place you could send Draymond where he's probably cool with
clutch, right? So like, are the clutch people going to allow for this?
But if Rob, Draymond, Kuminga, and Moody, and maybe a first for AD. The Lakers at least have a meeting about that, right?
They talk about it, but it probably makes them worse, doesn't it?
It might make both teams worse.
It might, yeah. You're really driving everyone into the dirt with the fake trades now.
They're fake trades that make everyone worse. It's my new trade machine I've created. I was working on it over my hiatus.